Well, I just dropped off Veronica, my wife, at the airport. Just going to the Dutch Sheets event in Ohio for a few days, a prayer event. She's got some nasty side effects of the chemo's on, but the cancer has been stopped. So she's not cancer free, but this new treatment she's on. She was on Ibrance for a while. Now she's on PIQRAY. Seems to be working very well. Sorry about that. And she wanted to go to Ethiopia. When she first found out she had bone cancer, she had a $1,200 back brace on and some pain, and her pastor had to talk her out of it. It was a missions trip. And then she went on vacation to Mexico with the kids right before they were going to lock down everything because of the COVID thing. I was afraid they were going to get stuck in Mexico. No, they got back like the day before they locked it down. I mean, she does these things by faith and always comes out okay. And then she went to the D.C. prayer march a couple weekends ago with some nasty side effects that are not conducive to being out in the open and with bathrooms that are not always easy to get to, let's put it that way. So she's doing well and just keeps pushing forward and doesn't let anything stop her. That's a good lesson for us all. So I wanted to share that as an update and encouragement to go forth, live your life, and believe that God has a lot of good things left for you. Secondly, I wanted to share, a couple of days ago, the neighborhood kids came over to play with the dogs, and I was led to give one of the kids, he's 5 years old, trying to learn some, basic language and numbers and whatnot. I gave this little play cell phone thing that I had found who knows when, and I'm supposed to, God keeps leading me to find toys all the time that people throw away, electronic toys. Anyway, long story short, I found a bassinet last night. I was driving by on the bus. I said, well, it's still there when I on my way home, I'll pick it up. So I stopped to pick it up. There's nothing wrong with it. And I found, guess what? This in the mix of things, much like what I just gave away 2 days ago. And so, yes, it works fine. You can turn it on and the lights go on and teaches you things. It was kind of funny because I keep thinking I got to hang on to some of this stuff. I don't know why. There's going to be a need for child toys in my future. So I never know what to give away, what to hang on to. First part of me says the world's going to end any moment, so I might as well just give it all away. But part of me says hang on to it. Be like Noah, hang on to it for a while. So I was torn and gave it away anyway. Then 2 days later, boom, something very similar shows up and it gets replaced, so to speak. And I gave his older sister some Barbie dolls and stuff like that I had lying around. So thirdly, I wanted to share, yesterday I was sitting at the bus stop. I had a bunch of Popeye's chicken. Someone had left it at a stop, still all sealed up in a bag, not even open, still warm. So I sat there for a while before I thought, well, should I leave this for a homeless person? Are they coming back for it? I sat there for a while because my bus wasn't coming for another 15 minutes. No one showed any interest in it. And well, I don't want to get thrown away. I can always give it to the foxes. My son would love it. My dogs would love it. I'll just take it with me. Maybe I'll just hand it to a homeless person after I verify that that it's okay. But I'm sure it was. It's still wrapped up nice, warm. And so I'm sitting there, and I didn't want anyone else to take it, so I had it sit next to me. I even put my seat cushion over it so it didn't draw any attention. So I have my backpack, that seat cushion on it. I'm just on my phone waiting for my bus to show up. Bus shows up for me to make relief. I get up, and the chicken's gone. Someone swiped it that carefully. I thought, well, that's a little unsettling. Not that I had any specific use for it. I'm mostly vegetarian, I'd like to say. I wouldn't eat it anyway, but I had ideas where I could do with it. So, I'm just curious who took it. So, who knows? Doesn't matter. And I thought, well, this is God's way of helping me let go of things from this world and this earth. He's helping me not get too attached to things, even a good chicken meal and biscuits and whatever else was in there. You come to find out it was someone on the bus who had it. I thought, well, if you're going to take it, and you see the driver sitting there, you may want to take a plastic bag from the front, try to hide the fact that you took it. But no, he gets off the bus all proud that he's I guess, providing for his family or whatever. Part of me is like, well, guess what? You eat too much chicken, you'll get diabetes, especially that cheap stuff. That was the darker part of me. The other part of me is like, well, you helped me let go of something from this earth and not to get too attached to things of this world. So, good for you. I didn't have any real place for it anyway. But I could have been upset about that. Could have made it a racial thing, I guess. So anyway, later on my last trip of the night, no one's on the bus. I'm ready to pull in, and there's a guy sitting at the bus stop. Same race of the person who stole my chicken. And I could have been like, oh, I'm going to pay you back. But no, I thought, oh, see what he needs. And his phone was dead. He left his phone at a bus stop. And no idea where he was. No fare. That was the last bus through there. I was headed to the garage. I said, well, I'll take you back to the garage if that gets you closer. He said, sure. I said, where are you really trying to get to? And he happened to mention a location that is very near where I live. And I said, well, I'll drop you off at my last stop on Colfax, and I'll take you there on my way back in my car. Like, you sure you want to do this? He's like, you're a really good kid. And I'm like, I don't mind if you don't mind. He's like, sounds good. So then I started getting second thoughts, because I had him wait at the gas station across the street. And so I thought, well, I do have a pocket knife in my car, so I'll just keep that in my left hand down by my side while I'm driving with my right hand. I hate thinking like that, because you can't be stupid at 1 o'clock in the morning with someone you never met before. And I'm like, he seems okay, and I'm usually a good judge of character, but I've been wrong. So I pick him up and I said, well, can you take me a little further? And I let him use my phone and make some phone calls and whatnot, check his Facebook and whatever. And it turned out really good. He's like, I think you're the only bus driver that would ever do this. I said, you're probably right. So devil meant for this chicken thing maybe for me to turn sour on him later in the night. Possibility. Next thing I want to mention, I know it's a lot of stories at once, and it's better to focus on one thing, but I don't want to put 3 or 4 videos out there. Is the earth flat, or is it a sphere? This is quite different from everything else I just mentioned. It doesn't really tie together. A friend of mine who said some angels showed him heaven and showed him earth. He saw what it was. And I said, cool. And he said, it's both and it's neither. And I said, well, how can that be? Well, he believes we live in a matrix, more of a holographic universe simulation, which makes sense when you think of the Mandela effect and how our world can be tweaked. Some people can see it, some can't. And some people think we're crazy, for talking like we do. And a friend of mine in the 1970s died, came back to life, and his spirit was taken up into space. And I said, oh, good, he can tell me. End this debate. And he saw nuclear weapons in space. Well, the fact that he said space would say sphere to me. Flat earthers would say no space. And not to that extent. He said, I was taken way up. I said, is it a sphere or is it round? He said, I really couldn't tell. It was so far away. It just looked round to me, but it could have been a sphere. It was just too far away to get any detail. And of course, if he's that far away, a firmament kind of doesn't make any sense. So that didn't help any. I've decided it's both. How can that be? Well, I believe when God sees the earth, he sees it as flat. He's way outside any dimension we can possibly imagine. So from his perspective, it's flat. He can see everybody at the same time. He doesn't have to look around curves. I guess when you're far enough out of all these dimensions, that's very possible. But as we see it, it's round. So when prophets were seeing the world as God sees it, they talk about, the earth is established, it's fixed, it does not move. There's angels on the 4 corners of the earth. There's probably over 100 scriptures that would suggest the earth has flatness to it. And so when they're looking at it through God's eyes, it looks flat. But when we see it in our perspective, in our realm, in our dimensions, it's a sphere. Anyway, that really kind of cleared it up. We're both right. And my friend was right in saying it's kind of both, but neither. God bless you. I love you. Thanks for checking in. I know there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that have some really awesome things to say. I'm on YouTube a lot. And this is just kind of encouraging, I hope. This is what I have to encourage myself sometimes in the Lord just by looking and seeing and connecting the dots.